create an ambience. Go and buy popcorn. Tell your husband, we are having movie night, just the two of us. Create that ambience and enjoy every bit of it. So that is it. Intentionally stay connected.
So, Vinnie, there are newlyweds, people who have recently gotten married, maybe a month or 2 months, or still in their honeymoon. What is your 5-star advice for such couples who are still enjoying their honeymoon period, or they've just packed up and they are home now into reality? What advice will you give such newlyweds?
Right. Thank you. So after being single for whatever years, believing God, and God has blessed you with a husband or a wife, there are certain things that I think you need to institute in that union, and which will go a long way to help you. And one of the things I want to talk about is to pray together. And having said that, I think Frida spoke about something I mentioned when we were in school years ago. Anything you don't start with from day one, you cannot bring it up later. It will receive a lot of clashes and resistance. And we cannot go into this institution or this journey without prayer. So I think that you need to intentionally, now that you're married, everything you're doing is intentional, because you're now going to get to know the person better. You're going to have a lot of shock absorbers. You're going to discover a lot of things you thought you knew, but you did not know. And the first thing is to pray together. Make it an intentionality to pray together. Hold hands and pray together. In your rush hour, if you don't get to do it in the morning, at night time, try and do this, because if you wait till trouble starts rolling down your doorstep, you cannot bring your husband to that prayer closet. Build a prayer altar in your home. Pray together. Bible says that if two shall agree of touching a thing, it shall be established. You are two becoming one flesh. And what will sustain that institution is prayer. Pray, 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 pray more. You cannot have enough of prayer. So pray. And the next thing is to have realistic expectations. Don't go into marriage as a typical African man, thinking that what you saw your mom do to your dad is what you expect in your marriage. So, okay, we are married. So we come back from honeymoon. I expect my wife to, prepare breakfast, lay table, come and call me to eat. When I finish, I just pull my chair back, walk out, go and sit down and enjoy watching TV or staying on my phone. No, I think you need to have realistic expectations. Raise when you lower your expectations and you have more than that, it's better than having a huge or a high expectation and then those expectations are not met. Otherwise, fights will begin from day two of your marriage. So have realistic expectations. Some of the expectations are, you know, we are in this together. So your wife is busy, dishes need to be done, go and do it. It doesn't make you less of a man or it doesn't make you less of a woman. Your husband is not around. This bill needs to be paid, or you need to call for someone to come and fix the boiler or light or whatever. You see it as a man's duty, so you're waiting for you. No, you need to own the relationship. What you step into is a huge venture. And if you work together as one entity, you will enjoy the fruit thereof. So have realistic expectation, not too high expectations, and you will enjoy every single part of your relationship. And the next thing is to set time to intentionally stay connected. Listen, the best time to enjoy marriage is when you're newlyweds. Enjoy time, have fun, go to the movies, go for afternoon teas, go to the park, go out on holidays. This is the best time to have fun and create memories for the future, because we have different types of newlywed situations. Some people go into marriage, and just from honeymoon, they are coming in with a seed. Personally, I do tell people that marriage is stages. You move from one stage to another. Newlyweds, that's when you're getting to know each other. That has got its own, and that's the enjoyment stage of your marriage, where there are no, responsibilities in terms of children. It's just the two of you. Even if you're living in one bedroom flat, enjoy it. Create an ambience where your husband will come back from work. You are ready for him. You know, a husband, you go to work. This is the time you have more than enough to spend monetary wise. Buy your wife something at the end of the month. You just buy perfume, just buy something nice. Oh, I saw this when I went to the shop and I bought it. Do those things, because these things create a repertoire of memories that you will rely on. Trust me. When issues come as married couple, we tend to, and 5 years ago you did this. So when you do lots of positives and you get to the crossroads, you remember, you used to do this, that becomes a yardstick in your marriage. So create memories for yourself, have fun. And I would also chip in that if you're newlyweds, try to keep your issues to yourself. Yes, you bump into a lot of things. You get to know that the lady who looks gorgeous, when she takes all her wigs off and her lashes and everything, she looks some way early in the morning. Well, that's what you bargained for. That's what you've got. Get used to it, you know. But I was having a chat with a male friend, and he said something that was so profound. He said, Vinnie, I have never, and they've been married for over 10 years. He said, I have never ever gone home from work and seen my wife not attractive. Ladies, stay attractive. And it starts from after the wedding. You look gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous after your wedding. When you take your wedding gown off and you take your lashes and your makeup and everything, what do you do afterwards? Life is not normal afterwards. Try and maintain that. We don't expect you to wear wedding gowns every day or put makeup on every day. But when need we do that intentionally, create an ambience. Go and buy popcorn. Tell your husband, we are having movie night, just the two of us. Create that ambience and enjoy every bit of it. So that is it. Intentionally stay connected. It is very important. The next thing is to set goals. That's it, that for lack of vision, my people perish. Set goals. This is the time, you have all the time on your hands at the moment. So set goals. When do you want to get married? Yes, children are a gift from, when you want to have children, children are a gift from God. But you can determine the pace. I will always tell newlyweds, don't rush into having children. Get to know yourself, enjoy each other. So set goals. When do we want to start having children? What do you want to achieve in the next 5 years, in the next 3 years? Have set, achievable goals. You should know what your husband, and this is where I will entreat the men. Women are, we are incubators. Okay, we incubate. We multiply whatever you give to us. So if after you marry, your wife doesn't really know where you are going or where the relationship is going or what you want to achieve as a couple in the next few years, women we get a bit agitated, and every woman wants a leader. We graduate or we are weaned off our fathers and we're coming into someone else's life. We want to see that man as a leader. I know in some homes, the women seem to assume the leadership role, but let your presence be felt as a man. Have visions. Sit down. I like to plan. I want to know what is happening in the next 1 year. By the end of the year, what do you want us to achieve as a family? I want to know those things. So, men, intentionally sit your wife especially in the situation where you are nearly wed. Let your wife know this is what I want us to do. In the next 5 years, I want us to have a mortgage. In the next days, I want us to have children. Even talk about the schools you expect your children to go. But listen, nothing you put on paper cannot be achieved because God expects us to write the vision and make it plain. Put it on paper and then pray towards it. And I believe you me, these things will come and materials before your very eyes. And the last thing I want to talk about newlyweds is to communicate. Communication. Talk. Talk about everything and anything. Please. Communication is very important. Don't assume that your wife knows it, or don't assume that my husband knows it. Talk a lot. When you come back from work, talk about your day. I know men are very internalized, especially when they are going through their challenges or troubles, they don't want to talk. But even so, as a woman, you should be able to pick up when your man is not okay, when your husband is not okay. You should be able to pick up. Sometimes, it's only wisdom will advise you to wait. So just wait for a while. Then approach him and ask him questions. What is it? I'm here. Assure him. Because after you've been buffeted left, right, center at work, you are coming home to a safe haven. So if your wife is not creating that haven for you, it is a problem. So talk about everything. Don't keep secret. As for women, when it comes to talking, we don't have a problem because we will talk about everything. Even things your husband doesn't want to know, we want to talk about it. So communication is very important, because again, if you start with it, if you do it well, and it becomes part and parcel of your relationship, whenever there's a problem, you will know because you know that your communication link is a bit itchy, and then you'll be able to know, no, my husband is not okay, my wife is not okay, and then you can find out what is really going on. So that's my take on the new words.
Wow, that's so much to take on board. Thank you so much, Vinny, Lady Vinny. Right.
No worry.
So for the newlyweds, stay attractive. Wow. I wish I knew this when I first got married. All the hair bonnets in the house, all you take off the wig
They don't
and you
like
just,
it, but they don't say it.
yeah. I mean, I personally, I never knew until at a point because I always had the cornrow, the braids underneath
Yeah,
my wig. And my husband was like, oh, do you want to change it a little bit? Because in the house, it was always the braids, and I think he had had enough of it. I mean, I wish I heard this. So, for those who are newlyweds or just about to get married, yeah, stay connected, set goals, communicate. This is so much to take on. Thank you so much. I think we need a whole session for the newlyweds. I have just one question
all right.
for newlyweds. So, what is the best thing to do if someone or a couple they find themselves maybe after a week they have not been able to function sexually? What advice will you give to them?
Okay. There's this funny, theory going on social media about the problems married couples face, especially those of us who are Christians. That because we have been told to abstain, we don't get to try the batteries, and so you get married and realize there's a problem. I believe that it's about learning. When a child is born, you know, they can't do anything. Everything is done for them. Basically, they are taken care of until they begin to crawl, and then they begin to, hold on things to move around the house, and then they can walk and run and do everything. So I believe, first of all, um, when you talk about not functioning, is it that there's something medically wrong, or you're not really enjoying like you saw in the movies before your marriage?
So they are newly married, so they are not even sure if it's so
Okay.
they haven't even been to the doctors. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I think that if your spouse or both of you are really going, you need to learn a lot. You need to learn because one of the glues that stick marriages together is lovemaking. It's very paramount. It's very important, especially for the men. For them, when a man is really drained, that's what keeps them going. It's like a sleeping tablet to them. That's why when you're not in the mood, they will steal. whether you like it or not, they will still take it because for them, it keeps them going. And for a woman, it's the other way around. When you're not in the mood, you just don't want it. But you do it because it's a need. So I think that you have to acknowledge the fact that you're both new to this, learn. And when you're learning, you need to take your time. Communication does not only happen around the table, it happens, you need it a lot in the bedroom as well. So try lots of things, just try something new. Um, you know, not just the traditional one, just try something new, get to know yourself, read books. Please don't go into watching um, videos or see pictures that are quite offensive, because it will not happen. It will not help you in the future. If you open your heart or your home to watching pornography, you will never satisfy your spouse. Never, because what you see is to the extreme, and you might not get the techniques or what it takes to be able to keep to that tempo. So try exploring yourself. Just try exploring yourself. I mean, nobody tells a child that there is breasts where as soon as the baby is born, they lunge out to the mother's breast and they get on with it. So once you're married, you should know this is one of them. Just get to know yourself and learn. Don't be disappointed. A lot of women and men as alike get disappointed after, oh, is that all there is to it? My husband was very green, never taken a girlfriend before, never had even kissed a girl before. But we have graduated for 20 years. Now he's a master, you know. So it's a gradual process where you get to know your spouse's body, your body language areas, sensitive areas where you can turn your spouse on. As for men, even if you've come around in tattered clothes, they'll be turned on, but it will take both of you to make it work. So it is not the end of the world. It's not a red flag. I got the wrong person, because unless you go and marry a prostitute or someone who is a sex worker, who has it all together, and even that, the time will come you can't even keep to the demands. So learn together. Learn from one step and move on to the highest step you can. There are certain things. Bible says that we should not hold back our bodies from each other unless by consent. So have fun as many times as you can. Just have fun. I know of couples who are over 10 years in their marriage, they're still not having that feeling when they watch movies. Remember, movies are staged, they are paid to do that. But the best, love making is getting to know your spouse's body. You should know which part of it your wife will be turned on when you touch. And likewise to the woman, you should know. It's not just wearing, a very revealing lingerie. No, you should know. Even sometimes the way you talk to your husband and all that. Having said that, as for men, whether you like it or not, they will still, be ready at any time. They are ready batteries. And I think one thing I need to chip in is that a lot of women are at a stage where they are not enjoying their sexual life, because they feel that their needs are not taken into consideration in the bedroom. Men are very quick on, quick out. And so they are not able to work the women to the level where they feel they have really, that's why it's called love making. When you're making something, it's not abracadabra. It takes time. Work on the physique of your wife. Work on her. Avoid using chemicals, KY jelly, and the rest to lubricate. The lubrication is in the DNA of your wife. Get it out and enjoy, because these are the secret cries of most women, especially Christian women. And these are topics you cannot openly talk to people about. And so they are dying on the inside. Why do we have a lot of cheating happening now? And even now, women are bold to get into the cheating platform. They cheat because they are not being satisfied sexually, and they can't talk about it. And communication link in that department is shut down. And so she's having a family. She really can't be bothered. But at the end of the day, it's a problem that needs to be solved. So I think that talk about it. If need be, seek for help, counseling. Go and see a very renowned marriage counselor. Talk to them about it. Nowadays, medically, I hear your husband is a doctor, so I'm sure you know there are even medicines that help, people to be turned on. But at the end of the day, look at what you can do to turn your spouse on. Right? Anything you do that, take them off or, repels them coming to you romantically or intimately. Think about those things and make it work. It's not the end of the world. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Lady Vinnie. Thank you so much. I think that answers that question. Yeah, Lady Vinnie. So now we want advice for us, the married couples. Just like you said before, you are 20 years married, but you're still receiving counseling. So what is your five-star advice for married couples?
So the first thing I will talk about for the married couples, and in this case, we're not talking about the newlyweds, 5 years and over. I think that you have to keep your communication link open at all times. Communication is very important because after 5 years, I'm assuming that kids have started coming, okay? And especially for mothers, I think when we start having children, they automatically become our friends. They become our soothers. All right. So when your husband hasn't got time for you, you have the children to play with. You can read to them. You can take them to the park and everything. But one thing you need to understand is that before the kids came, you were, and after the kids have grown and left, you will be. Again, it will not be automatic for you to, automatically connect again when the kids go. So be intentional about this and ensure that you are talking at all times. Talk at all times. Don't harbor things in your heart. If your husband is doing something that you think is really hurting your feelings, please don't bottle it up, because when you keep something bottled up for a long time, the day you explode, you might be saying things that you cannot go back to take. You might be hurting the feelings of your husband. So please, as it happens simultaneously, please talk about it. And if apologies need to be rendered, apologies will be rendered. I always say to people that women, you see, we are not very fussy about things. No matter how much you hurt a woman, just saying sorry to will just melt her heart like this. Most often, men are so stubborn that they won't even say that. And then that makes us even more stubborn because we incubate. If you approach me with stubbornness, I will approach you with double stubbornness because that's what you present to me. You see? So communicate a lot. And then keep the sizzle in your marriage. Please keep the sizzle in your marriage. We are so busy with um, other responsibilities that we tend to ignore our marriage, no matter how long you've been in a marriage. Once in a while, just go and have a meal outside. Keep the children at home. Send them to your friends. Let someone come over. Get a teenager, a very responsible teenager, to come over. Leave your kids with them and go and watch a movie together. Okay? And wives, don't always expect your husbands to pull the surprise triggers. Sometimes just call a restaurant, book a table for two, and then just one Friday evening after work, before he gets home, just take a picture of your voucher and send it to your husband. We have a date. Yes, you can also pull the dates trigger. It shouldn't always come from the men. Women, we are always collecting because we are incubators. Bring it over and then let's go. Sometimes it's nice for you. And listen, there are things that men also love, but because men don't talk much, they keep quiet over it. But when you do them, it becomes a plus on your side. You surprise your husband on his birthday. We are going weekend away. It is possible. Just do it. It will only cost few pounds to do that, or few cities to do it. Just do that and go and
I
enjoy
think
your
we are saving our money.
saving your honest, because if you anything you take a break on in your marriage, you cannot bring it back later on in life. What? When you have both assumed certain, because when you get into that stage, men will connect with their boyfriend, their friend, their male friends, and they that's where they have their solids. They have conversations, and sometimes those associations lead them into more trouble. So Keep your husband at home by doing stuff that will make him want to run to you. I remember years ago, my husband went to do his master's in Newcastle upon Tyne, and I was still in London. I would send him message. He would drive from, and it takes about 4.5 to 5 hours from Newcastle to come to London. Before I realized he's knocking on my door in London, because me,
Wow.
he would drive without even knowing that you are going beyond the city limit. We need to keep that going. And as I talk to you, I'm
Mm.
talking to myself. I have not gotten it all. I've stopped for some time now. But it's just reason. I'm just resonating that these were the things my husband really loved. So let's keep the sizzle going. Please, let's keep the sizzle going. And then also, um, especially when you're a bit advanced in your marriage, when there are problems, red flags, at your door, you feel shy to talk to anybody about it. Sadly, I have had lots and lots of issues or problems where red flags started, its ugly heads, showing its ugly heads in the homes of some really good people. They ignore. Oh, I don't want Lady Vinnie to know. I don't pastor to know. I don't want my friend to know I'm going through this. And then before the issue is out there, I mean, it's like the third stage of or the fourth stage of relationship where nothing can be done about it. Please, we have not gotten it up until you are 100 years in your marriage. Thank God you are still learning. If there are any issues, first of all, talk about it among yourself. If you think you are not going anywhere with it, please seek a confidant. Talk to somebody. Seek for help. Talk to a pastor who will speak wisdom into your life, because sometimes when you are on that, you don't even think, you just act, and it will compound the problem and later on get yourself into a divorce situation, which we don't want you to get there. So no matter how old you are in your marriage, please, when problems arise and you think, no, this is beyond us, and this is personal experience I had not too long ago. My husband wanted us to get another property. And because I had built a clientele base in terms of business in London, I was very skeptical. I didn't want to go. And for 20 years, and this is after our 20 years marriage, just before our 20 years marriage, I didn't want to, I became a stubborn wife because I was thinking about my business. I have private tuition. Children come to my house and I teach them. And by the grace of God, I have a lot of children. I have a lot of testimonies of children who are doing well. So I have a lot of children. I do business. I have booked events for people. And I'm thinking, right, I need to pack all these things and move to a totally different place. Personally, I'm not very good at change. So it was a big issue. For how many years in my marriage, this became an issue. I had to call in a third person because I didn't tell myself that 20 years in marriage, I got it. No, it was a problem, and it was causing a problem. It was causing a tension between myself and my husband because we were not seeing eye to eye on this. I had a genuine reason, and that's a man who wanted the best for the family because, no, we have to move on. And listen, it took a third person to come and talk to us, and God started dealing with me after that. And now we have moved. We're going into a better place, a bigger house where all my children will have a room, will even have spare. But I was at that time looking at my business. And God started dealing with me. And trust you me, I was worried because I was doing face-to-face tuition. When I moved into online, I'm going to lose my children. Because we eventually agreed and we prayed. When I told the parents I was moving away, none of my children would have. They all want their children to do online tuition. So you see, I didn't lose. I've got my children. And I believe that more doors will be open for me in this part of town. But we were going through a true, genuine that the two of us could not solve, that we had to bring in a third person. And God took over. And now we're here. So, yes, please talk about issues there and then. Don't wait till late. Thank you, Freedom. I hope I've got a few bits.
Yes, thank you so much, Lady Vinnie. That's a lot to take on. Keep the marriage sizzling. Ooh, I like that. And communicate. Be intentional. Yeah, this is so much for us to take on board and to advise ourselves with. So I have a question. I think you did say in one of the series that after marriage, sometimes you see your spouse differently. So does that conclude that marriage can change a person, or is it just circumstance that change a person? What happens in marriage? Is it marriage that changes a person, or this is just the person's real character just coming out? Yeah.
Yeah, I think, thank you. I think one of the things we need to bear in mind, you will not be able to know everything before marriage. Know everything before marriage, because when you marry, just the two of you, when kids start coming in, you know that your husband is one lazy man who's not ready to grow up and help. That's a learning curve as well. We all pretend when we are caught. A lot of things we all pretend because we want to be the perfect man in the eyes of your fiance. Unfortunately, these things don't last because the reality will pick you. And so sometimes, yes, a lot of the things or the person you're going to live with for the rest of our lives, we get to know them better after the I do. So it's not like the person has changed. That's their personality. Probably you didn't take time to observe. These are the red flags that showed up and you glossed over or you brushed under the carpet. You didn't take time to really pause and reflect. You just glossed over. That is the personality. I don't think that people change after marriage. You just don't know them well, or situations have not presented themselves where the person behaved in a certain way for you to know that this is it. For example, I mean, when you are courting, there is no situation where you talk about finances. Even if you're talking about this, you're talking about what are your priorities when it comes to finance? What do you think about saving or joint saving? You can, these are knowledge on the internet, so you can read and discuss. But when it comes to the reality, where you know that this lady I am married to is a not when it comes to saving. These are things you have to know. It's not like the lady has not has changed. It's because what you spoke about before marriage is knowledge on the internet. Now, because of her personality is actually showing, she's not very good. Whenever there's money, she wants to buy a new. There are women who want to buy new stuff. Now, when you're picking her up for lunch all the time and she was changing her weights and changing her bags, you didn't have the honest ask that who sponsors you? She uses her money because she wants to impress. When you don't stop some of these things or ask some of these very, very sensitive questions about your spouse or your fiance when you're 40, listen, be ready for the shock absorbers because when she receives her money at the end of the month, because it's a habit, she's built this over a period of time. She wants to buy something new. There's a program coming up. She wants to buy, it doesn't matter if she has 10 suitcases of white clothes, she still wants a new one because everybody needs to see me in different light. And that is women for me. So there are things that um, there are situations where um, issues present themselves, and then you get to know, oh, okay, so this is how my husband behaved in this situation. This is how my wife behaved in this situation. But most often than not, we have not known the person really well. You are now learning to. So when situation presents is just take that box. Okay, so when it comes to joint saving, this is my husband's view about that. If you got the chance to talk about it during your courtship, then you can refer or you can revisit those conversations and talk about it. But if you marry and the person says no, especially when you join savings, no, you are the man. You have to look after the house, you have to look after me. I'm sitting in my father's house, you came to marry me and so this and this and that. There will be problems. That is why in your courtship stage, please talk about these very, very important pillars in marriage. Finances. What's your take on savings? And then you talk about it. So yes, a lot of the things we learn whilst we go when God forbid you one of you lose a mom, and then your husband's attitude about spending a certain amount of money to help, with the funeral arrangement, he's skeptical. All of a sudden, he doesn't even want to talk to you. He's becoming very cheeky and very reserved and all that. So when it has to do with sponsoring me to do that or helping me out to do that, I mean, these are things you will not know until you get to the latter part of your relationship where so when a situation presents themselves, it looks as if the person has changed because this is the first time the situation has presented themselves. And that's how they are. That is why temperament is very important. I'm doing a series. my ladies at church about temperament. And when I started reading temperament, I told myself that I think this is an area that should be included in marriage counseling, because if you know the temperament of the person you are going to marry, I'm telling you, 50% of the issues we are facing right now will be erased. Okay? We take our time and rush into it. So that is my take on that question.
Thank you. So, from what you've just said, it's not marriage that changes an individual. It is just us. It's just us getting to know each other, knowing ourselves better. And also, circumstances also brings out what is in us. Thank you for that explanation. Really appreciate it.